Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today, and I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a real estate broker and investor who's revamped over 300 homes right here in Central Florida. Do you have any idea what a real estate broker and investor does? Well, neither do I. So let's find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Greg Bond.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Tiberius.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Looking forward to talking with you.
Okay, so you are a real estate broker and investor. I know a real estate investor buys property, but isn't the broker the one that gets the most of the money?
It depends. It depends on the deal. A broker, I'm a broker because I'm required to be by law and be a licensed broker to manage my property management company. So that's primarily why I'm a broker.
I see. So just in case kids don't know, what exactly is a real estate broker?
A real estate broker is licensed to manage real estate agents, and real estate agents then sell real estate. So a real estate agent, to become a broker, has to practice real estate underneath a real estate broker for 2 years before they can take the test and become a broker themselves.
Okay. So was this like being a real estate agent was a different title? How's it different?
A broker from an agent?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just it's a different title, a different designation. Real estate brokers can have unlimited real estate agents working for them. Real estate brokers cannot partner with real estate agents, but they can partner with other brokers in a brokerage. So at one point I started a brokerage and had 35 agents working for us in the brokerage.
So if you have like two of your agents who want to become brokers because they've been with you for 2 years, y'all can make a brokerage, right?
Yes. And then they could join our brokerage, or they could come on to the brokerage as brokers, assistant brokers. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting, but it's all regulated by DBPR, by the state of Florida. So
okay. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for the property management side over 30 years.
Wow.
Probably coming up on 35 years.
Wow. So when did you know that being a broker was the job for you?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I wasn't a broker when I originally started out because I was managing my own properties. So to manage your own properties, you don't have to be licensed by the state of Florida. But as soon as you start managing properties for other people, that's when they require you to be licensed.
Nice.
I didn't understand that, so I was managing properties for other people without being licensed. I was caught, and it's a $50,000 fine and a year in jail.
Ouch.
So yes, it becomes rather expensive, and that's for each separate incident. So putting an ad in the paper or putting an ad online would be one incident. Putting a sign in the yard would be another incident. So there's all these incidents that add up. So I said, my gosh, this is ridiculous. I can go to jail for 520 years and we're bankrupt because of all the fines. And so I talked to the representative at DBPR, and they said, well, if you get your license within the next 6 months, we'll sweep it all under the rug, and you're good to go. So that's what I did. I went and got licensed, and everything turned out okay. But it was interesting.
520. Wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's like
it was crazy.
More than 8 human lifespans. Jeez. So what got you into becoming a real estate investor?
Well, from a real estate investor standpoint, my wife and I, when we first got married, we both came from fairly poor homes. Our parents didn't have much extra income to invest, so they never taught us. And so we decided that we wanted to live a lifestyle below our means. So we lived on my income and banked her income for investment purposes.
Smart.
So, but we didn't know what to invest in.
Ah.
So I came up with this crazy idea to invest in real estate, in single-family homes.
Wow. Look where it took you now.
Yeah. So it turned out pretty good. The first house, though, was not something I'm proud of because I took the deal to my wife and I said, honey, look at this. We need to invest in something. And I had all the finances worked out. And I said, we buy it for this, we rehab it for this, we run it for this, and here's the monthly profit that we can make. And she said, I don't like that idea. And I was confused. And I thought, well, I've been married less than a year, right? So I thought, well, maybe she didn't understand me. So, of course, I raised my voice, which is not a good thing. And
No, that's not good.
went through it again, and she said, no, I don't want to do that. And I said, why? She said, because you're going to ask me to paint it, to clean it, to fix it, and I spend my time working. I don't want to do that in my spare time. And I said, well, so I was just perplexed. I didn't know what to do. So guess what I did?
What?
I bought it anyway, behind her back.
Ooh.
Not one of my finer moments. Not something I would recommend to anybody. But it's how we started. And the day that the deed came in the mail, she beat me home from work, and she got the mail that day. And she opened the mail that day, and she called me at work and said, what is this? And I came home rather quickly, and we had our first major fight.
Ouch.
And it was not a pretty time in our marriage.
Not a good time, no.
So she said, I don't want to hear about this. It's already done. I can't undo it. So you deal with it. I'm not doing it. I'm not partaking in it. It's your problem. You deal with it. So we did that for a year, and then she asked a funny question. She said, where's the extra money coming from that's in the bank account? I said, that's that rental house that we're not supposed to talk about. She said, okay. So then the money kept building up, right? Because we're living on my income, banking her income. And we got enough for another one. And I said, honey, what do you think about another one? And she was, by that point, I think she was pretty settled that it was halfway decent. So she said, okay, as long as I don't have to deal with it. So we bought another one, and then we bought another one, and then we bought another one, and then we bought another one, and it just kept building from there.
Every single month you kept on getting.
Well, not every single month, but as money accrued to allow us to do that.
Wow.
So probably over a 10-year or so time frame, we acquired 30 properties. So yeah, it was
30?
Quite substantial.
Okay.
Yeah, it provided some great extra income.
Yeah.
And my thought process was, if I can manage those 30 properties until we retire, so if I manage them for 30 years, and then all the mortgages get paid off, that throws off a great retirement income.
Yeah, that really does.
So
how does being a real estate broker or investor make the world a better place?
Well, real estate investor and broker, two totally different things. But from a real estate investor standpoint, real estate investors take rundown homes, they fix them up, they remodel them, they bring them back to life, and they either then rent them or sell them, flip them to somebody else that's looking to buy a house to live in. So they really perform a necessary function in getting homes remodeled. It's something that the government might say, well, we can do that. Well, probably not as efficiently as real estate investors.
Yeah.
Doing it themselves, and then brokers manage agents,
The people,
and they basically show houses or list houses for people to purchase.
Okay.
So you see those signs out in the yard, right?
Yeah,
As
I
you're
do. I
driving
always
down the
see
street.
those. I always wonder why they're there. Well, someone might be trying to sell a house.
Exactly.
Now, here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we are back here talking with Greg Bond. He is a real estate broker and investor. And it's always shaken and not stirred.
I love it.
So, Greg, what's the hardest part about being an investor?
Investors have to be very careful in the properties that they purchase. They have to do a lot of analysis before they purchase those because they need to know exactly how much it's going to cost to fix all the things that need to be fixed or remodeled in that house. And they have to make sure that that house then can sell for a profit once they've put all that money into it. So
And not a loss.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes they lose money. I have lost money on a number of properties.
Oh, wow, really? Okay.
So those properties are the ones that that you really learn the most from.
Yeah.
Because from making those mistakes, as long as you're going back and analyzing those mistakes and seeing what you did wrong, it really helps with future properties.
Yeah. So is being a real estate broker harder or easier than being a real estate investor?
Again, two totally different things. I found out that being a broker and managing people is much harder. I think anytime you're managing people, it's probably harder. Being a real estate investor, I just manage projects. So I would manage a house or a commercial building or something of that nature. So it takes more of the human element out of it. I'm managing people that are doing work on those projects instead of managing people. Or instead of managing people that work specifically for me.
Yeah.
People that I've hired to do a job.
Tougher, yeah. Okay. So what is the craziest thing that's happened while you were working on a real estate investment property?
Boy, there's been a number of them. The craziest one probably was we had one individual, a couple that we were renting to, and that couple got a divorce. The husband left the home, left the wife with 3 kids, 3 dogs, and 3 cats. The wife wasn't working, so she couldn't pay the rent. We had to evict them, and she wasn't familiar with the eviction process, so she moved in with her mother. Her and the kids moved in with her mother. But they left the dogs and the cats in the house. Oh. So once we were able to get control of the property a month later, they left a lot of water and a lot of food in the house, but never came to let the pets out. So the pets lived in the house for a month without being taken outside.
That's
so
not good. So
yeah,
there was
pretty
pee and poo everywhere.
Pee and poo everywhere. We just rolled it up in the carpet and the urine-soaked carpet and pads and drug them outside. And yeah, it was pretty nasty.
Yeah, definitely want wood floorboards then.
Yes.
So what's that one renovation that you'll never forget?
The one renovation, actually, it was the last one that I did.
Really?
And it just got so bogged down in regulations that I sold it at a loss just to get rid of it because it was taking up too much of my time. So it was a property up in Enterprise, Florida, just over the river, St. Johns River.
Really?
Up in
So
Volusia
it took
County.
too long, so you sold it for a loss.
Yep. It was crazy, the amount of regulations and hoops you got to jump through now, governmental regulations. So it was
Not good, guys. Not good.
had some code violations. Are you familiar with code violations?
No.
Code violations, if you do something wrong, somebody from the county will come up and they will basically post a notice on your property and say you're in violation of this and such code, and if you don't take care of this, we're going to start fining you up to, it may be $25 a day, $50 a day, $100 a day, something along those lines. And so if you don't take care of it, they start fining you, and that fine starts to accrue. And $100 a day is $700 a week, or close to $3,000 a month. So it can get quite substantial. So
Yes.
yeah.
So what type of buyers or sellers need a real estate broker?
You have to, as an agent, you have to work under a broker, as I was saying before. So everybody has to, if they're selling a house, unless they're selling it by owner, then you have to have a real estate broker to be able to list that property on MLS and to have a licensed agent attend to your house. Now, a broker can also attend to the house and show the property, but more than not, it's the agents working underneath a broker that fulfill that the type of process.
I see. Well, do you have to ever deal with any angry clients?
All the time, especially, like I said, my specialty is property management, so we're constantly dealing with people, basically renters. That if there's a problem with a property, and this time of year, as it's very, very warm here, 95 degrees plus, if an air conditioner goes out, people get heated.
We need to
Literally
fix
and
that.
figuratively pretty quick.
Yes.
So you want to take care of the ACs as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So, do you look at properties differently than most people because you're an investor?
Yeah, I think so. I'm constantly looking at what can that property generate me as far as monthly cash flow. And that's something that I really wish that they would teach a lot of this stuff in school, because kids need to understand that, you've got expenses. And when you look at your monthly expenses, you need to make enough income to support those expenses.
Yes.
Right? So if it's costing you X amount in food and X amount in electric and water and your mortgage payment or your rent payment, all those add up. If you can make enough income, right, passively to support that, where you don't have to physically do the work, then you're pretty much free to do whatever you want to do, because you're freed up from the requirement to generate income to support yourself.
Yeah.
So if they would teach that more in school, and kids coming out of school would understand that there's different ways to create income streams. So if they can create those income streams, they can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
It frees up their life to basically
Do whatever you want.
do whatever you want. So it's a good thing. There's a formula that I like to give people, and it's if you figure out your expenses and you multiply that times 12. So let's say it's your expenses are $1,000, just for figuring purposes. You multiply that by 12, you get $12,000. If you multiply that by 25, that's going to give you the amount of money you need to retire, to basically never have to work again. So
Really?
25 times 12 is 300,000. So if you can amass $300,000, that should be your goal, right? My expenses are $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
I need to accumulate $300,000 so I can retire and never have to work again, unless I want to. Now work becomes optional. I love that work becomes optional.
Yeah.
A long time ago, work became optional for me. I don't have to work. I work because I love to work. And more people, I think it'd be a better world if more people were in that position.
Yeah. It'd be a lot better. So, it says in your bio that you have renovated over 300 properties.
Yeah. That's
Now, why'd you only pick properties in Central Florida? Now, why not Miami or Tampa?
just the distance, right? I don't want to have to drive to Miami or Tampa to basically keep track of a property or to check up on a property. So when somebody's doing painting for me, or they're putting a new tile in, or they're putting on a roof, I want to be able to drive to that property and verify exactly what they're doing. And so basically I just typically stay within an hour or two of my home.
I see. So how can someone listening today get involved and become an investor?
I think nowadays YouTube, right? There's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah, there is. That is true. I can tell you that for sure.
So,
But what's the best way for a future investor to get started?
I think talking to an investor themselves, finding somebody that's doing it, and sitting down and talking with them. Most investors, if a young person came up and asked me, I would be honored to talk with them, right? I would love to take them out to lunch and talk to them about how they could start in real estate investing. I think it's probably one of the best ways and easiest ways to start to generate passive income.
Okay, well, we'll get to that at the end of the guest show, this show.
All right.
And well, what's the best advice we've ever received? And who gave you that advice?
Best advice I ever received probably was, it was right as I was making the transition to become a full-time real estate investor. I had dabbled with it, and we had a few properties, but they said, Greg, you're doing all of the menial tasks, the $10 an hour labor things, you need to be focusing your attention more on the 100-hour and above tasks. So when I looked at, I had a big pickup truck and I would deliver refrigerators and stoves and change stuff out and haul stuff around. And they said, you can find somebody to do that for $10 an hour. Where your time is better spent is finding the deals. That's what I really found I was good at. So finding the deals were $100 an hour, $500, $1,000 an hour type activities. And so when I really started analyzing that and going, wow, yeah, you're right, I need to spend more time on the higher paying activities rather than the lower paying activities.
Okay. Well, what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
I want to basically tell them that this is a fun and a very easy thing to get into. I've seen kids as young as 12, 13, 14 buying and flipping properties and earning an income. And they can take that, they can do that part-time. If they have a full-time job, it can work into a full-time job. It can create passive income that allows them to then be job optional. And so I think, it's a wonderful opportunity for kids part-time or, working into a full-time position.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back with real estate broker and investor Greg Bond. Greg, have you ever thought about investing in property in other states?
Yes, we just recently bought a property in North Carolina.
Oh.
It was a commercial property, and it is actually a crypto mine.
Oh.
So we're into crypto mining, and we found in North Carolina there was a lot of textile mills up there that are no longer operating, but there was electrical capacity that the electric companies had when those were operating at one point in time, and now they have that extra capacity, so they're willing to sell and cut the electrical price. So it basically took us to North Carolina to get cheap electric prices. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Okay, well, I like talking about AI and how it can affect jobs. Do you think AI has a role to play to improve the job of being a broker and or investor?
Absolutely. I think AI can improve every single job that we're looking at. It's going to replace a lot of them. But there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to replace jobs and enhance pretty much every job in the United States, so including brokers and real estate investors.
So, how much research do you have to do before starting a real estate project?
There are a ton of things that you have to do before you start a project. You have to find the house, then you have to walk the house. You physically want to look at every aspect of that house because you're trying to determine the what it's going to cost to rehab it, both in materials and labor. Some of the stuff you can do yourself. What you don't do yourself, you have to find somebody that can do that work for you. Then you have to go outside, look at the roof, look at the yard. Does it need landscaping? Does it need a fence around it? What do you need? And then you have to see how much it's going to cost after you've done all of that work. It's called the after repair value, the ARV, what that house will sell for once all of that work has been completed. So you add up what you paid for the house, the repairs and rehab that you've done to the house, both the materials and labor, And that gives you a figure, and then you go, okay, how much profit can I make if this property is going to sell for $300,000 and I've only got $250 in it? I'm going to make $50,000. And so that's kind of the process you would go through.
4-step process.
Yeah.
Wow. 4 steps. 4 steps.
And so a lot of investors also don't take into account a lot of the different aspects of real estate. The reason that I feel that real estate is one of the best investments you can make is there's 4 areas where you can make income. And a lot of investors just look primarily at the income that you're making from that property. But you're also making income because you get to take depreciation on that income that you get to subtract off of your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you some real return because you're not paying taxes now.
Yeah.
Right? And then you also, when you take out a mortgage on a piece of real estate, you typically get a mortgage over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that 30-year payment, monthly payment, is principal, part of its interest. Every month you're paying down principal, so that's equity gain. So you're actually gaining value because you're paying off that loan. And then lastly is appreciation. And properties, especially in Florida, Central Florida is wonderful. We're seeing great appreciation. So, when you add all those things together, that gives you a total return. And most people don't look at the 3 other quadrants. They only look at income. So I call it my idea quadrant: income, depreciation, equity, and appreciation. That's how an easy way to remember it.
Okay, well, if you could go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
Buy more real estate. Keep buying and buying and buying and buying and buying.
Buy, sell. So what was the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Biggest mistake that I ever made was managing my own real estate early on. I thought I was going to save money, and in actuality what happened was it took so much of my time, and I made so many stupid mistakes because I didn't understand what I was doing back 30 years ago. Yeah. Right? So I would let tenants paint the house. They say, we want to paint the bedrooms pink. Is that okay? Sure, go ahead. We want to do this. We want to do that. What I learned was standardizing everything really helped me save a lot of money. So I got to the point where I was using, in every single house, I was using the same light fixtures. I was using the same plumbing fixtures. I was using the same electrical fixtures. Everything I tried to standardize, the same tiles, the same roofing colors, the same paint colors, the same everything. Because if you think about using a 5-gallon container of paint, right? If I'm painting every house differently, when I get done, maybe I've got 2 gallons left, but that's the only house that is painted that color. Now I set it in the garage, and what happens after 2 years? Goes bad. It's no good, and I just wasted 2 gallons of paint. Where if I paint every house the same color, I just move that paint to the next house, and I continue to use that same color paint. So a lot of things like that I learned the hard way, whereas if I would have been using a property manager to manage my properties instead of trying to do it myself, yes, it would have cost me 8 to 10% to get them to do that for me, but I could have used my time to buy more properties, and therefore I would have been more successful because I would have had more properties rather than trying to manage my own. So by making those mistakes early on, it helped me become a better property manager, but it also came at a cost, and that cost was all the mistakes and the time and effort it took me to go through the learning process.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show, but that one story, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on.
That you're not supposed to tell you about. Well, there's a particular story during COVID that was pretty bad.
Oh.
That was when you couldn't evict tenants from properties because of COVID. So what happened was we had a tenant that had been in the house for 10 years, a husband, wife, and son. The husband unfortunately passed away.
Ouch.
The son got of age, got married, moved out, left the wife in the house alone. She got rather lonely, so she met some people and allowed them to move in with her. She got COVID, had to go to the hospital. When she came back, they had locked her out of the house. And now she called us and said, these people won't let me back in my own house. Help me. We said, we can't. You invited them in. You allowed them to come into your house. They're now getting their mail there. They had turned off the electric and turned it back on in their own name, so the electric was in their name. So she couldn't get back in the house. So she went to live with somebody else, and they continued to live in the house, not paying rent. I couldn't get them out because I couldn't evict them. And it came down that they stopped paying the electric bill. So they got their electric turned off. They stopped paying the water, so they got the water turned off. Now they're living in a house without water or electric, and I still can't evict them. And then they were also doing drugs.
Oh, that's not right.
So it turned into a very bad situation. The COVID restrictions lifted. I was able to evict them, and they came back the evening after they got evicted, and we had cleaned the house out, and we're starting to get all the repairs starting to be made, and they burned the house down. So I could never prove it. The neighbors heard them come in about 2 o'clock in the morning. The police had been there, over 30 times during that 11-month period. The neighbors knew their voice. They didn't have cars, so they rode their bikes up. They heard them talking, and the next thing you know, the house is on fire. So I have no way of proving that, but it's pretty cut and dry that they did it, but no way to prove it. So
Well, now it's on radio. So
yeah, that was probably one of the worst situations I've had.
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
No, I love helping kids, especially young entrepreneurs, young investors starting out. Love to help them learn from my mistakes. So I would be very honored to talk to any of your listeners that may think they want to get into investing.
Well, kids, if you want a free lunch, do you have a Facebook or website for my listeners to follow you?
I have a website. They can get me at thepropertymanagerguys.com or tpmguys for short.com.
Okay. So what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
One question. Why do I do it?
Why do you?
I do it because I love doing it. And like I said, I don't have to do it anymore. I get to do it because I love to do it. And I think that's what kids should really inspire towards, is getting to do what they love to do, not because they have to, but because they absolutely love doing it. And that's the position that I find myself in. I haven't been in that position my whole life, but it's probably been the last 10 to 15 years that I've really got to the point where I don't have to work. I don't need the money any longer. I do it because I absolutely love what I do.
So, Greg, let's see here. So, is your wife glad that you bought that house? First house? That first one?
Yes, I think she would absolutely say she is very glad we bought that first house, even though it was a rough, rocky start, but it's still kind of a sore spot. So
yeah. Well, thank you, Greg, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you, Greg, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're going to talk about some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. And today, we're going to talk about net listings.
Ooh, net listings, all right.
Okay. Well, Matthew agrees to list his property on the condition that he will receive no less than $150,000 after he pays a 6% broker's commission and paying $2,500 in closing costs. At what price must the property sell for? We can run in the nearest dollar if necessary.
I supposed to answer that?
No, you're perfectly fine. I got you.
Wonderful.
Well, first let's define what a net listing is. It's when an owner sets a minimum amount that he or she wants to get from the sale of the property and lets the broker keep the difference. Must be nice, huh?
Absolutely.
So for this problem, we have to first add the closing cost to the seller's net, which is $150,000 plus $2,500, which is $152,000 and $500 as well. I think I got that right. Then we have to take the sales price minus the 6% commission, which is 94%. And from there, we do some math. It's going to be a tough one. So I believe it's $152,500 divided by 94%. It's going to be tough. I'm going to grab my calculator real quick. Okay, so it equals $162,234.04, or just that. When round to the nearest dollar. But now, $160,000 and $526 is the price of the property must sell for Matthew to get the net of $150,000 condition that he gave. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right?
Yep, you got that right.
Okay. So, Greg, have you ever dealt with net listings before as a real estate broker?
Absolutely. Yes.
Nice.
Sometimes they're very, very good. Sometimes they can be
yeah.
not so good.
Well, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math in your work?
Math is so
Other than money.
counting that money.
Well, thank you so much, Greg, for your help with Math Corners.
Absolutely. Pleasure to help.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and ability. This week, we're going to talk about integrity. For me, I think integrity is the ability to be honest. The qualities of integrity are strong moral principles and moral uprightness. A family friend was getting her pedicure done at a nail salon. At the time of checkout, she noticed that her cashier charged her debit card 43 cents instead of $43. Some people might have remained quiet and not made them aware of the mistake. Well, she did not. She immediately advised them that they missed adding 2 zeros to the transaction. The owners were very grateful for her honesty and charged her the remaining $42.57 for her services rendered. Her actions were one of the integrity because she immediately realized a mistake and made sure the establishment was made whole. So, Greg, did you see her use integrity at all this week?
Boy, I think I'm constantly using integrity.
Well, of all of the Heart of the Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
I love integrity.
Why?
Because it really tells you who that person is. You know, somebody like that is somebody that I would want to work with or partner with, because obviously they're trustworthy. They have integrity.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Greg Bond for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about being a real estate investor and a real estate broker.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy.
No problem. Do you mind giving your social media and website again?
Sure. It's thepropertymanagerguys.com, or for short, tpmguys.com.
Okay. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, K1998, Soul Radio 24/7, Easyway TV, and all the other stations that air my show. Now, please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. So, Greg, are you subscribed yet?
I am ashamed to say I have not, but I will be doing that shortly.
Damn, I'm kidding. Oh, and be sure to comment if you want to be a real estate investor or broker. I love finding which job kids may want to grow up and try. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.